Hello, Internet. We are back and we're continuing with entrepreneurship. We have Kevin Johnson here with us. He's telling me he's going to talk about health. And I think that will be interesting because it's something which everybody shares. And the older you get, of course, the more important it gets. Kevin, welcome here. Thanks. We're grateful for your time and effort. Let me say again, if you people listening here, if you find any kind of assistance from this, then please contribute to the Free to Battalion Association. The links are here below. Kevin, all to you.
Well, there we go. So I'm going to be doing not so much talking today because, as like in the previous video, it's really just getting into your health and then, ultimately giving you some clarity, confidence, and more important of all, some new capability around your own health. So if we can put things into context, 2 videos back, what had actually happened there is that, Uke was just going through a very short exercise of about 15 minutes. You were able to extend your lifespan, correct, by 10 years?
Yes, it was 10 years, at least 10 years.
Okay, and so what I say to people who are just catching this video and haven't seen the previous ones, you must go back to the previous videos and really listen to that one, especially around the extended lifespan, because it's that's important in our discussions all the way going forward. Okay, so then in the previous video course, what we looked at there is you becoming the Chief Courageous Officer in your life. Okay, and obviously there's workbooks and everything there. And then most important of all, you went into your Courageous library and you did obviously the exercise of seeing in your past how you were courageous and what it actually meant to your new capability that you discovered. Also, what happened last week is that you set a goal going forward to be more courageous. So having said that, this is a binary sort of solution that I'm sharing with people. You're either 100% in or you're out. There's no in-betweens, because to be an ambitious entrepreneurial person, it's all in. Okay, so having said that, let's climb straight into the first exercise. So it's all things health. And I want to read the definition out on the scorecard again. You confidently choose the extended age at which you will die and then use the number to transform everything else in the present. So your extended age that you've given you, that number is all about what you do with it in the present. Because after all, there's no guarantee that you can get to that end number. And in many ways, it's just an imaginary number. But what's more important is what it can actually do for you in the present. It changes the way you think, okay, and many other things, the way you behave, so on and so forth. Okay, so let's get into the first exercise. And the first exercise, you can grab a sheet of paper. Same story again. At the top, your name.
Yes.
And in brackets, CCO, which is Chief Courageous Officer, because that's what we're asking of you as you go into these exercises.
Okay.
Right. So, and maybe you just want to put right at the top, freedom through health, so that you know that sheet, when you file it, is for your health.
Right.
Okay, so top right again, in that box, number 1, what shouldn't you be doing when it comes to your health? Maybe you just want to take out a minute quickly and jot down a point or two. What are the things that you shouldn't be doing? Could be too much sugar, too much coffee, too much alcohol.
Right. Got 4 points here.
Okay, and then you go to bottom right box and you put there number 2. What should you be doing about your health?
All right.
Okay, then you go to the bottom left box, number 3.
Yep.
What's working when it comes to your health?
Right.
So did I say what's not working, or did I say what's working?
What is working?
Okay, and then your last box, top left, number 4, what's not working in your health?
Yeah, I made a few notes for us.
Okay, so what you probably noticed there, Chris, when you did it, is that the questions some of them might seem similar, but that's okay. But when you rephrase a question, okay, then your head starts to just come from a different angle. So it's really trying to get you to extrapolate all those thoughts that are going on in your mind by just changing the actual questions, okay, in a subtle way. Okay, so would it be fair to say then, when you're looked now at your sheet, okay, that there are positives and negatives, and that there are some goals that you would be able to set?
Yes, there's definitely positive, negatives, and goals.
Okay.
Improvement, room for improvement.
Yeah. And especially with you being the chief courageous officer when it comes to your health, okay, this is why and how it can get you to change the way you're working and living in the present so that you can get to that extended age. All right. Right. So what I'm now going to do, if that's all making sense to you, I'd like you now to flip the sheet.
Like upside down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just go to the other side. And then at the top, just put there Kevin, me, Chief
Yes.
Courageous Officer.
CCO.
Yep. And now I'm going to share with you, how I go about applying some principles and actions, goals, whatever you want to call it, when it comes to my health. So the top right, my first category that I got is sleep is a nutrient. That's Nutrient. Sleep is a nutrient. And right off the cuff, okay, I'm going to be sharing 4 with you. So that's a number that, if you've been coming along with all the videos from me, 4 is an important number for me because, excuse me, in the company at 3-2, we had 4 platoons. And when I worked at Westbank, we had 4 divisions in that particular branch that I worked in. And what you've picked up already, Koos, is that in the courageous category, there were 4 boxes there as well. So guess what? We've got 4 boxes as well in the health section. So the first one is sleep is a nutrient. Now, Just like at 3-2 Battalion, I believe that in every company, we should have had our own recce's. So when it comes to my house, I've got my own recce's out there. Okay, and these are the guys that I go to for advice. These are the guys that I listen to. In some cases, I go and visit them. Okay, but more important of all, when I'm setting my own goals, I always say to myself, what would they say about this particular goal? And as I've mentioned in numerous videos, and we'll be doing this going forward, is that the goals we set in the various categories are quarterly goals. Okay, so not weekly, not annually, every quarter. Okay, so who is my recce? In the business world, they call them scouts. So I've got 2 scouts. And if you're interested in sleep, because I'm not a sleep expert, I'm just a student. Okay, the first guy is Dr. Matthew Walker.
Okay.
He's a scientist, professor, or neuroscientist, professor in sleep, Dr. Matthew Walker. He advises Google as well. And then my other recce, scout, is Professor Colin, Colin, Espie, Espie. And he has got his own company called Sleepo. It's Sleepio. Now, when it comes to sleep, and if you are really interested in looking after your health, you just need to go and park off for about 10 minutes reading or listening to what those 2 gentlemen tell you about sleep. It is critically important. And this nonsense that people say, I don't need sleep, or I feel fine on 4 hours. Okay, unless you are a fraction of 1% of society out there. I say this again, unless you're a fraction of 1% out there, then quite frankly, it's all crap talk. We need sleep. We need quality sleep. We need quantity of sleep. And people that say, I just function good on little sleep, well, they know no better. What they should do is they should give themselves the opportunity to sleep some more, and they will see a big difference, not just physically, but cognitively as well, when it comes to things like problem solving, critical thinking, creativity, curiosity, all the important things that you need in entrepreneurialism. Sleep is critically important. But I don't want to sit here and try and be a sleep expert. All I can say to you is that when I got serious about my sleep, my world changed, and it changed for the better. Now, when it comes to sleep, there's just 2 words I want to mention to you if you do take an interest in sleep, and that is something called the circadian rhythm. That's CIRCADIAN. And that is basically, the clue is in rhythm. That's the sleep-wake cycle. So like, when you're awake and when you're asleep, there's a cycle that you go into. That's what the circadian rhythm's all about. And then another very important hormone, okay, is melatonin. So with my scouts, because that's what we'll call them, with my scouts' advice that they've given me, Okay, what's worked well for me is the following, that my circadian rhythms are very much in sync, meaning that I go to bed at the same time and I'll wake up at the same time. Obviously, if it's a late night out, that's a different story, but I wouldn't catch up with sleep on the weekend. I get enough sleep, full stop. So therefore, I would get up at the same time. So it's normally about 9 o'clock that I go to bed, and I get up at 6 o'clock. Okay, so that's the one thing. Another thing that helps me with my circadian rhythm is that about 2 hours before I go to bed, I have no blue light. So in other words, I'm not looking at any mobile phones. I'm not on my computer, no TV set on in front of me, because the blue light confuses the circadian rhythm. It throws it somewhat out of sync. Now, one thing I picked up, just by the way, with Dr. Matthew Walker, because he's actually a scientist by profession. He has done with Google and on his own, because he's got sleep, what do they call it? Sleep clinics in the United States. He's British, but he's got sleep clinics in the USA. And he's done a huge amount of research, and you can see it in all his books, or you can look at his Wikipedia, you can get him on YouTube. But the one thing that stood out for me, what was incredible, is he took a lot of youngsters in the age group 20 to 30. And what they did is they got them into the clinic and they kept them there for a couple of weeks. And they actually did scientific research on them. And what they found is that with the girls, with sleep deprivation, their skin deteriorated. Remarkably, they could actually see it, obviously, on the various equipment that they were using. And with the men, the testicles actually shrunk. Now, obviously, that's extreme sleep deprivation. But there's the proof, and that's just one bit of proof, okay, that sleep can actually affect the body. They did research at a private school in America where people pay a lot of money to get into the into the schools, and the way that the schools can justify the high school fees and continue to increase it is that they, because of the quality of the school, managed to get the kids into the real top universities in the United States. So therefore, these schools will spend money to improve the kids' ability to write the exams and obviously do well at these big interviews if they're going to Princeton University or whatever it is. And he went in there and he changed, they were really like obviously doing well with their exams, and he changed their exam results, and it improved by just telling the school that the school classes must commence an hour later. Because there were just too many kids getting up at about 5 o'clock in the morning to get to school on time. Because it was a private school, so obviously, parents were traveling far. And all he changed, okay, was moving the start of schooling 1 hour forward so that those kids could get that extra bit of sleep. You'll also read in the book what happens to your study and everything that you've done that day before you go to sleep. And those books will tell you what actually happens when you're sleeping to all that knowledge and that you've taken on, which then just makes a joke of this thing of, I'm just going to study till 2 o'clock in the morning for 2 weeks leading up to, writing exams. Obviously, that's better than not studying at all, but there's a far better way to study. And they've scientifically proven it. So there we go. So that's my baby when it comes to sleep. You got any questions there, Quers?
Well,
On sleep?
It's more like a statement. I mean, we know that sleep deprivation is one of the major techniques in interrogation.
Exactly.
And we also know that when special forces and these people go through their dark phase, they keep them awake. And also during their selection, keep them awake, see how their personality changes. And within 3 days, it will change. So if you don't get enough sleep, you're in trouble. And there might be medical reasons as well, With sleep.
Absolutely.
And you will know about it if you have that kind of illness, and it will affect your brain. It's that simple.
Yes, absolutely.
And then the problem is you're up against somebody who's not sleep deprived. So he's smarter than you. And then you see your ass and you lose money.
Exactly. So just one more thing on sleep. With the professor from Oxford University, he's got that software called Sleepio, SLEEPIO. But there are other companies that are competing against his software. And I know that because I've done the sleep course through him, not because I had a sleep problem, but to simply improve it. Now, many private health companies, if you approach them, you might be surprised that they've actually got an app. So maybe in their marketing, it got lost a little bit. So if there's anyone out there, obviously if you're in the UK, you just check with the NHS because Sleepo is free in many areas of the UK through the NHS. But also, if you're not in the UK and you're on private health, then just check with your private health company because they might have Sleepo or they might have a competitive product. And these softwares do work. They're incredible. Good. Right. So then we move on to the next one, which is number 2. That's the bottom right box. And that is nutrition. Okay, so what I want to share with you there, I've got a scout. His name is Dr. Jeffrey Gladden. That's Jeffrey with a J. He used to be a cardiologist for decades. He's now a longevity expert. And he's got a fantastic podcast. He's obviously got his own website, but he's also got a fantastic podcast with another doctor, and it's called Living Beyond, and the number 120, Living Beyond 120.com. So that's the number 120. This guy is absolutely incredible. And what I do is, besides the good food that I eat, which we can touch on, I put no supplements in my mouth unless it's under medical supervision. So I didn't sit here watching something on TV or seeing something in the shopping mall and decide to buy. I don't see something on YouTube and decide to buy. I go through medical supervision for all my supplements. Now, I'll give you an example with one thing. About 4 or 5 years ago, I was finding that about 10 o'clock in the morning, now I'm up for about 4 hours already, had 2 cups of coffee. At about 10, I would feel I was sort of nodding off a little bit. So I went to my expert, my Recce, because that's what Recce's are for. And I said, look here, I'm nodding off. No problem at all. What I'd like you to do is to do some adrenal gland testing. This is like $98. It comes in a kit. You order it online. It comes in a kit. You do some spitting in there 5-6 times a day for 2 days. It goes off. They bring a report back. She gets a report and immediately she says, right, your cortisol is a little bit low in the morning. We got to get you onto this type of supplement. Within 3 weeks, okay, touch wood, it was sorted. So you are right, Koos, in saying, even like with sleep, sometimes the problem can be actually inside. And obviously, as we get older, there could be certain things wrong inside. So there again, in your annual health check, you could say to the doctor, like I do, I want to make sure that everything inside is fine so that it gives me a good chance to sleep properly. Now, bear in mind, a lot of sleeping problems are psychological and external, but sometimes there's some internal problems, especially when the cortisol is out. Okay, so when it comes to nutrition, have a look there at Jeffrey Gladden, livingbeyond120.com. And my advice is, take supplements through expert advice, because what they normally do is they normally are aligned with proper suppliers and not some of this crap stuff that you find on the shelves. You pay a little bit more, but it's quality stuff. Okay, any questions on nutrition before we move on?
No, not really. I mean, you should know what is bad for you and what is not. I mean, I myself, Rebecca and myself, we're full vegans. And let me tell you, since we've become that 2 years ago, I'm a diabetic too. It's mostly my own fault. And I haven't tested my blood in 2 years, so I have no need to do so. That's how under control it is. And of course, you just lose weight as well, which is a good thing. So food's important. Food is extremely important, what you eat.
Yes, yes. Fortunately, I haven't had a weight problem, but I met a retired, he wasn't a RSM, he was a sergeant major from One Para, UK. And he was in that company that took big shit in the Falklands War when they were up on that hill. They either were being attacked or they were attacking. It was quite a big firefight against the Argentinians. Say again?
Goose Green.
Yes, yes.
I think it was called Goose Green or something.
Yes. So we were chatting one day and he said to me, oh, I'm really disappointed in my 2 sons. He said, they don't exercise, they're overweight. And they got all the excuses under the sun. And he said, I lost my cool with them because my wife's very sympathetic towards them. He said, I lost my cool with them one day. And he said, obviously, I couldn't behave like a para company sergeant major. So what I basically said to them one Sunday when they were around at my place, if there's nothing wrong with you 2 boys internally, then I, as your father, am going to share something with you. You, both of you, are just simply 2 puddings ahead and 1 shit behind. There's no excuse for the fact that you're overweight. He said, I never brought it up again with them. And he just laughed. I said, no, I get you. Well put.
Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? It's what comes in through your mouth, which is going to add to weight. It's that simple.
Exactly. Okay, so now we go to number 3. Physical exercises. Right, so there once again, I've got Dr. Jeffrey Gladden as one of my scouts. And the second scout that I've got is Randy. Yep, that gives the clue away. He's an American, Randy Hetrick. I think it's double T, H-E-T-T-R-I-C-K. Now, Randy is a guy that had 14 years service in SEAL Team 1, and then eventually got to the Elite SEALs Team 6. So when he gave 14 years service and retired as a Commodore. So I'm not quite sure. What would that be, the equivalent of that be in the military? Major? Lieutenant Colonel?
Yeah, it's close to a colonel because it's between captain and admiral, so it's an honorary rank. I would say colonel.
Yeah, so he retired after 14 years. And when he was in the mountains, okay, in Afghanistan, at the big base back at the, in Afghanistan, you know, the Americans on that, I don't know whether it's anything also in South Africa nowadays, but when you look at these sort of Navy SEALs and even yet the SAS, they all seem to train hard, like muscular. Whereas in our days, I noticed with 3-2 Battalion, and you look at the photos and you look at 1 Recce or you look at 5 Reconnaissance, the guys weren't muscular. But today they're quite big, bulky people. I don't know what it is, but you know, that's neither here nor there. What he did say was that when they were in the big bases in Afghanistan or Iraq for that matter, they could still exercise. But when they used to go to their like real forward hags that were under fire before they would deploy, especially like into the mountains, and they carrying the heavy pack and all of that, they wanted to maintain strength. So he designed something where he took the chest webbing and the cords from the parachute, and they were able to do some body strength exercises using your body weight, and at the same time, and most important of all, strengthening the core. So when he came out of Navy SEALs, he knew what he was going to do. He had a purpose in life. And purpose is what we're going to cover next week, you know, a deep-rooted purpose. He had it. He was going to go into a business and become known worldwide for a set of straps that you could do to strengthen your body and core. So he's got TRX. That's TRX. And I've got the military straps because they're more robust, because I like training outdoor. So basically, I've got a gym on my back. Now, I know when I gave up paddle skiing and surfing and all of that, probably around the age of about 40, when I was getting ready to come over here. Then when I came over here, for a good 15 years, I was in the gym. So I know what it is to pump weights, you know, and I'm talking about the big core exercises like deadlifts, military press, squats. I know what it is to do that. And I'll tell you now, when I bought these TRX straps and I went outdoor and I started to use my body weight, I got a wide awakening core. to realize, okay, how weak my core actually is. And believe you me, as you get older, it's all about strengthening the core. So I use these straps, they TRX, and I use them outdoor. And I use them for strength training based on Dr. Jeffrey Gladden's advice. I use it to be mobile, and I use it for cardio. So I'm getting the three important parts when exercising. So that's TRX. It would be great in this video, roundabout when we mention it, if you could bring up one of those images so that people can see what it's all about.
Yes, we will do so. And I suppose we have to say we're not actually getting money here for recommending it. It's just something which worked for you.
Yep. It's just an image we're going to put up anyhow. Okay, so based on that, from Dr. Jeffrey Gladden and my nutritionist, I just want to mention one other thing that I forgot about nutrition, which helps tremendously with both sleeping and with the exercising, is that I get a good balance between good fat, supercarbos, and good protein. So my diet revolves around those things: good fat, supercarbo, and good protein. So for me, one of the most important good proteins, okay, is egg white. So here in the UK, you can actually buy egg white. It's in liquid form. And in all the research I've done and in all the recce's and scouts that I've spoken to, they say it's the purest form of protein. So when I have my porridge in the morning, I just put my egg white into the porridge. People go, yuck, it's awful. There's no impact on the taste of the porridge, I can assure you that. So there we go. Right, so any questions on the physical exercise before we move on to the next one?
It reminds me of Frans van Staden. You remember in his episode, he said that dealing with stress has two ways. One is eating, which is bad.
Yes.
And the other one, he said, is exercise, which is good.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so I think it's essential. I have to agree.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, the body works like that. Sometimes the things you should be avoiding are the things you gravitate towards. I mean, I know with depression too, how many people chase the drink to self-medicate. And that's the last thing you should be doing.
Well, I suppose that is the lesson here, Kevin, is that it takes a man to know there's something wrong and do something about it.
Yes.
It's a weakling who knows there's something wrong and then just ignore it.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So if we can move then to the last one. But the last one is the meditation. So people say, well, Kev, why do you do it? I do it for three reasons that sit in my mind, although there's many other good scientific reasons. I do it for longevity. I do it for performance. And I do it for basically happiness. So 20 minutes a day of meditation I'm doing for longevity, happiness, and performance. I've got two experts there, a guy by the name of Stephen Bodian, that's Stephan, Bodian, Bodian. He's actually got a book. He's got many books, but one of the books I really like is Meditation for Dummies. You know those dummy books? And then there is also, I think, a cardiologist, Dr. Dean Ordish. Dr. Jeffrey Gladden that I mentioned previously, whilst he's not my meditation scout, he swears blind by it as well. I say to people who have not done it, just give yourself 30 minutes to read up about it, and you will see the incredible benefits behind it. There's just too many people still, whilst it's a practice that's increasing phenomenally, there's just too many people that are living in the past by saying it's for weirdos, it's for wackos, it's for softies. It's all crap and nonsense, okay? Because meditation, it's used by some of the top sportsmen in the world. You don't just meditate because you want to sit on some mat on the floor. You do it for many, many reasons. And my three reasons are longevity, to get those extra years, performance so that I can be more effective at work, and basically to be happy. So I do say to people out there, yes, physical exercise is known to everyone. It's mainstream. You might not be doing it, okay, but when it comes to meditation, there's still a big percentage of our society that just laugh it off. And really all I say to you is just look into it. You'll be pleasantly surprised what it does for your blood pressure, what it does for cholesterol, what it does for many, many other important things. And it's not just these guys that have studied psychology and that swear blind by it. You know, these are people that are cardiologists and, you know, are experts in other fields of the body, and they speak highly of it. So for me, it's 20 minutes. I've been doing it now for a good 9 years. And the one thing about meditation is you don't complicate it. There's lots of things you can meditate about, but for me, it's just simply finding a quiet place, calming down, and just focusing on the breathing. And I'll probably be like the Dalai Lama, that I will just stick with breathing because it works for me. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And then when I'm doing visualization for performance at work, I'll stop the breathing after a while and then just visualize myself doing whatever I'm going to go and do. So if I'm standing, going to be speaking to 100 people, I would then maybe for 2 or 3 days just visualize from the beginning to the end how I'm going to present. If I'm taking on a big project like getting to understand and how to use LinkedIn in a real effective way so that you can monetize it properly, and you know to be an expert there, it takes you to be courageous because you don't have the capability yet. It requires tenacity. It requires perseverance. What I would do is I would then just visualize the end result for about 3 or 4 days. And it's amazing then when you go into it to actually start it, how much more relaxed you are. And we know the top sportsmen do it. I think it was the guy that's won the most masters ever. That would be the Jack Nicklaus. Someone said to him, "Do you visualize every shot when you're in a tournament?" He goes, "No, I'll go one step further. I visualize every shot, even when I practice." It's good enough for him. It's good enough for me. So there we go. So those are basically the four. Do you have any questions on the fourth one?
It seems to me this is like a lifestyle. You have to look at your life right now and then make the decisions depending what you filled in. And then look at the experts, what the experts has to say, and then implement.
Yes. And you know something, what I found there, because you're spot on there, I've been doing these 8 freedoms, I'm talking about in a structured way. Obviously, I was doing a lot of it before, but in a structured way where I score myself every quarter, set myself a goal in each of the 8. I have found that when I'm actually setting the goals and I'm staying within my goals, I've got enough innovation, creativity, and intelligence to come up every quarter with a great goal for each of the categories. So having said that, what I'd like you to do now for about 5 minutes is to now go and use mindset number 8, which is GROW, the acronym for goal, result, obstacle, and who, not how. So grab a piece of paper, 4 boxes. At the top, just put there your name, CCO, Chief Courageous Officer in brackets, freedom through health. So based on the notes that you've been taking and the stuff that you've written down, go to the top box and put there G for goal. And there, set yourself a health goal right now. What do you want? And why do you want that goal?
Okay, we've done that.
Right? Then you go to the second box, bottom right, normal story. The R in GROW, result. What I want you to do there is to put down bullet point, best result. What would the best result look like if you took action? And then below it, worst result, in brackets, if you didn't take action.
Okay.
Right. Then we go to the bottom left box, obstacle. What are the obstacles that are holding you back? Think procrastination.
All right.
That it? And then, like we said last week, instead of saying action, what I want you to put in the 4th box, top left, who, not how. So in other words, who, not how action. What action are you going to take and who's going to help you? Because there's no need when you're an ambitious entrepreneurial person and you're wanting to be courageous, there's no need to do things in isolation. So you reframe the question by saying, who's going to help you rather than how?
Okay.
Right. So that's your goal that you've got. And always, like I said in the previous videos, you must always have a timeline to it. In other words, when's the due date? Because the brain doesn't like a goal to be open-ended. Okay, so they don't like it. The brain just does not like a goal to be open-ended. I like working on 90 days. Now, if you find, Koos, that you're not moving forward on it, always visit the G, the goal. And the goal is, what do you want and why? Okay, and if you're not progressing for whatever reason, go and have a look at the why, because it's normally the why that doesn't get you going. The why might not be strong enough, as an example. Right, so if there's no questions, we've now come obviously to the end of the session. So what I'd like you to do is just write the following 3 words down, Koos. Clarity, confidence, and the 3rd word is new capability. And what I'd like you to do, next to each of those words, put a plus sign if you got clarity out of this exercise on your health, or put a cross if you didn't. Likewise for confidence, and likewise for new capability. Now, what I do ask the listeners out there is that after listening to this session and doing your exercise, if those boxes were ticked, that you got clarity, confidence, and new capability, we're not charging you for this. What we would appreciate is if you go to the bottom of the video and, if you could possibly donate something to the unit that I was in, 3-2 Battalion. All the details are at the bottom of the video. I'll also, when the video gets uploaded to YouTube, I'll remind you also in the posting. Good. So, in conclusion, next week, we will focus on mindset number 3, freedom through purpose. There we look at what you're passionate about, what's your big transformative purpose, what's your long-term goal, what's your short-term goal. And you can then start seeing these things coming together so that eventually when you get to time and money, okay, you're off to the races. So there we go, Chris.
I have to congratulate you here, Kevin. This is actually, it's not mumbo jumbo. This is practical and it's clear.
Yes, absolutely.
How long did it take you to figure this out? How many roads did you go on which didn't work?
I would say that I've picked up bits of this over 20 odd years, yeah, no, maybe even longer. The must and the shouldn'ts and that I brought from 3-2 Battalion. So it's over 30 odd years. But when I got to 60 and I'd sold my last of my shares in my previous business that I had over here for like 14 years, I said to myself, now I'm going to go big. Now I'm going to go bold. I'm not going to be like the others to wind down and all of that. And so what I said is I must get some structure here. And for me to really go big and bold, especially now as I'm getting older, I need to have mindsets, because the mindsets makes your world, because it determines your behavior and it determines your actions. So what I did is I came up on a spreadsheet with 8 freedoms, started to define the definitions of when you're crap at it, when you're good at it. And now I'm into my 17th quarter. So here I am as a person speaking to you with 17 quarters behind me, doing it in a structured way. And I found that, yes, you guessed right. As I said in previous videos, I've got 8 mindsets, 4 examples for each of them. It gives you 32. So it's 8 companies. We had a 3-2 battalion, and we had 32 platoons. So I've got 32 boxes.
Well, it's working for you.
Yes.
I really hope it works for everyone else, because at the end of the day, if you don't try and you don't have a good look at your own life, you're either arrogant or you're on the wrong road.
Well, you know, you're so right then. What I always do, I'm not trying to be insulting. I'm no coach, I'm no advisor. I just use this in my own life, and then people I invest into in business, you know, like fellow shareholders, directors, they got to use it as well. Otherwise, I don't invest in. And I'll be honest with you that it all starts with courage. You can't believe how much easier life becomes as an entrepreneur if you grow a pair between the ears. It's just, you know, courage is everything. It just gets you to get new capability, get new confidence, go and commit again, go through a period of courage, of, you know, fear and excitement, find that new capability. And it's just a wonderful treadmill to go on to when you have to, because you don't have to be on the treadmill all the time. And you know what I say to people too? If 1 or 2 of these are not for you, find another 2 and substitute it. At least this is the framework of how to build your house. And like someone once said to me, so you've built a home here for you when it comes to this 8x4. I said, yep. And he said, boy, and you seem to live in it. I said, yep. He said, wow. So what you basically done is, you, like, unlike a lot of other people who build, and they always build, he said, you've taken your scaffolding down and now you're living in it.
Let's go with the flow. If it works for you, then do it.
Yes, and you chop and change as you go along, because you see there at the bottom of the videos, there are the 8 mindsets, there are the definitions. Chop and change them. I'll just say a secret with you that, and we got our own target market, by the way. You know, I'm talking about my day job. We got a very specific target market. So this is not trying to solicit business here, but we got about almost 800 coaches out there who have come up with their own scorecard. So that's what my day job is, to actually teach them to come up with their own scorecard. And they might be AI consultants, they might be machine learning consultants, they might be a business coach, they might be a mindset coach, they might be, could be any type of coach. We teach them to come up with something so that when they're dealing with their clients, they can get their clients immediately on the same page. Because whatever they're selling as a product, you know, you've got to have mindsets to want to use that product in the correct manner. So, but this is my personal one that I'm sharing with people.
Is there something we left out? Because I see we have about 7 minutes before I have to shut down here. And this
no, the 3-2 battalion. The 3-2 battalion chairman says they're happy with accepting euros, sterling, US dollars, Canadian dollars, Aussie dollars. So those South Africans living abroad, you don't have to think in rands when you donate.
Well, we know for once, you know, that the money will be used for good. And that's always it's an issue. I mean, it's an issue for me. In Switzerland, we do get a lot of these letters and things, and we are exposed every single day. You open your post box, there's either a bill from the government. They really like to send bills all the time. It's part of their nature. And then there's all these NGOs. And you know for a fact these NGOs are spending all that money on themselves. You know, they live in this huge, they have these huge office blocks here in Switzerland. They drive the latest Land Cruisers in Africa,
Yes.
or wherever they are. They are pathetic. I will not give them one cent, ever. And I will advise anyone listening here, you don't support rubbish like that. Support your own people. And so we talk about the Free to Association. You know what? You know that money is going to be used for something good.
Yes.
And
No, I agree with you there.
Therefore, we don't mind helping. We don't mind it. That's the reason for this channel. If we can get more people to contribute, do whatever you can. You don't know when you need help.
You're saying? Yeah, so I just want to endorse what you're saying there. That's why at the bottom, you'll see it's the Veteran Association's bank details, not ours. So, you know, we don't take it and then pay over. And to be honest with you, you know, if they ever had to misspend the money coming off, you know, these videos that we're making, I'd be like a rash all over them.
Yeah, and it's not that they're paying us back. I mean, let me also say that one fellow actually raised that concern to me privately. If we're getting some kind of a kickback, the answer is absolutely bloody not. We don't get any kickbacks. That's not why this channel is here. This channel is self-supporting, mainly through my wife, who supports us. And at some stage, I'm sure we will make other money out of it, but we don't take kickbacks or anything like that. Really, there's no such thing. It is actually insulting to ask me that.
Well, you know, just to bring things into context, my day job is a software company I've invested into, and I'm very active there in all ways, and that's my day job. But there have been some CEOs that have approached me over the last couple of years and said, look here, Kev, could you do a one-on-one with me every quarter? For normally I do it for 2 hours, and then every mid-quarter I catch up with them. In this environment, I don't physically go to them. And I charge them up front. It's not my core business. I charge them up front for a year because I want them to come to this session that I have with them at the end of the quarter and mid-quarter. And I want them to have skin in the game, and I want them to come and not muck about. And I charge them $25,000 US. So there's no ways I play on this platform here to try and make money.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that we cleared the air, so to speak. This is really to help our own. This is what we do. But anybody who's listening here is welcome. It's not just our own. And I would urge people again, if you listen this far, please listen to the rest of the videos also, and go back to the first ones if you need to, and just see if you can improve your life.
Yes, yes. And also what I'll say to people, if there's a big amount that you would like to donate and you just feel you don't want it to get lost in the general sort of stuff there, 3-2 Battalion, then just drop an email to Koos, and, you know, we'll sit, or Koos will have a discussion with you. And if you've got something that's you got on your mind, something special that you would like to do, then obviously that's what the money will be used for, and we will, you know, channel the person in the right direction.
Yeah, and then the last thing, of course, is if you donate, just put the legacy thing in there so that we can know whether our appeals and system is working or not. But if you don't want to, that's fine too. Don't let that keep you back. But if possible, just put in legacy, and we can then, you know, look at how we do things. It will really assist. Kevin, thank you. We've come to the end of another one of these mindsets of yours. There's going to be quite a few still. Thank you for your time, for your wisdom, your insights. We are most grateful. As I say to all of you, if you can support a good cause somewhere, please do so, especially ours. And if you wish to come and talk to me, if you have a story to tell us, just contact me. It's not a big deal. Just contact me. I will get back to you. And there's no real chance of me rejecting you. Just contact me because I don't know you. And once we have contacted you, we can take it further. So until we meet again, God bless.